So we are reverting back today to bigger government because the reversion to smaller government was superficial. It was just on an economic plane, and even on the economic plane, it didn't go very deep. There was never a commitment to true free markets. And I believe that there was never a commitment to true free markets, to really shrinking government, to really unleashing the power of markets, because there was never a moral commitment to capitalism. You can't really, truthfully, advocate and have a deep, passionate commitment to a marketplace if you're an altruist. Now, I know lots of people have tried from Adam Smith on. They've tried to claim that they believers in capitalism because it's good for the common good. It's good for the public interest. It's good for society. But then if you look around at how people behave, at the actual activities of the market, it must be very unpleasant for them. Because they're unleashing, obviously, this selfishness and this self-interest. So, it's inconsistent. Behaving morally in your personal life, i.e. be selfish, in order to attain a moral end in our public life. That is, be selfish so we can attain an altruistic goal. Nobody buys that. Nobody buys that, and indeed nobody's bought it in history. And we keep seeing the failure of that. So there was no commitment during the 80s and 90s to truly small government, to truly limited government, to true capitalism. And as soon as we hit a crisis, and I believe that the beginning of this new resurgence of big government is not today, it's not the last year, it was Sarbanes-Oxley. And why was it Sarbanes-Oxley? Why did Sarbanes-Oxley come about, this massive piece of new regulation? It's because of Enron and WorldCom and the other, perceived corporate frauds and cheating and lying and stealing that seemed like it was going on. And what did people say? They said, aha, told you so. This is what happens when you have unfettered capitalism. Never mind that if you go back, you'll notice that almost every one of those scandals happened in a heavily regulated company. Utility companies and telecommunication companies. And they said, aha, see, what we need is more controls. We need to restrain managers. We need to regulate markets. And that's how we got Sarbanes. And why do we get more and more and more government spending? Well, because they see some people did really well during the internet bubble and technology and became very wealthy because they created huge amounts of wealth. And yet there were people in our society who were struggling. And if you're a good altruist, if the standard of morality to you is the well-being of other people, then how can you tolerate those who are suffering? Particularly when there's some people doing really, really well. Now, maybe it wasn't sexy to raise taxes on the people who were doing really, really well. So just borrow money and hand it out. Tax future generations. But you can't let people not do well and just walk away. Altruism, the ethics of altruism will not allow you to do that. So, our morality, our attitude towards morality, drives us to distrust markets, to distrust capitalism, and to at every opportunity see faults with it, see problems with it, and look for collective solutions. Look for solutions that bring it into the hands of government. And why government? What is it about government that makes it feel more comfortable? Why? But is it one of the things that scares people the most when talking about economics, and you talk about economic policy with people? The idea, imagine a world with no Federal Reserve, no central bank. Each bank's on its own, they print their own money, there's a gold standard. The world in America pre-1913, pre the establishment of the Federal Reserve. I mean, even economists kind of have a little shudder when you mention that. It really scares them. You have lots of bankers all dispersed. But the fact that there's a Federal Reserve seems to calm people. That's okay. Or imagine J.P. Morgan, a big banker in New York, dominating the financial industry, versus Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan has this calming effect. J.P. Morgan, ooh. Why? Because J.P. Morgan was out to make money. He was greedy. He just cared about J.P. Morgan. That's all he wanted. What about the Fed? It's run by a public servant who cares about the public interest. He's doing this for all of us. He only gets a salary. He does not, the Federal Reserve doesn't make a profit. And that's calming. Right? We trust people who are not in it for themselves. I don't, but some people do, right?